if I could, since you don't have an agenda, and I understand there's no.
Well, no, we do have an agenda.
Oh, I thought you said.
I just didn't have a copy of it.
Oh.
I just didn't have a copy of it. No, we do have an agenda.
Okay, my understanding is that public comment will not be allowed, but I have a memo I'd like to read into the record. Check it, please. It's just one page, brief and to the point.
I believe that with all the public that did come to this meeting, that a certain allowance be made to hear. Although it is a one topic, there's a lot of concern.
I made it really brief. And
I just wonder if we could get through, could we put that at the end? Because we may answer a lot of the concerns just by the content of the meeting. This meeting, I'll speak, sorry.
Go ahead.
I would say this is just a board business meeting. We are going to adjust some permissions, some business rules, take over some duties such as publishing the minute, just business. There's nothing.
well, this is just business.
Okay, that's fine. I just think we might answer a lot of the questions.
Yeah, let's wait till the end, please.
All right.
Okay. All right. Eileen, is there anything that you would like to say, or do you want me to read the resolution out loud and then see if the board members have questions?
Yeah, well, first of all, I just emailed you a slightly revised version because I caught a typo in that version that I sent you. It isn't a major change, but you should have the most current one.
Okay.
Happy to address whatever you need addressed. I proposed a resolution for the board that addresses the issues that came up in my conversations with your board chair. So as we go through that, there might be questions. I'm happy to answer those.
Should we introduce?
Oh, sorry. Should I introduce myself?
Yeah,
I gotta introduce myself. Sorry about that. I'm Eileen Akins. I'm the attorney for the Aquatic District. Represented you guys for a while. I have about 100 or so special district clients, and Lebanon Aquatic District is one of them.
So and also another thing I should preface, though I can't give any detail, this is an extended absence by the director through August 29th. So it is a significant amount of time, which is why we engaged the lawyer to understand what the board needed to help with and take over during this temporary situation.
And in support of Jill, who has very generously agreed to add this to her normal duty to handle daily operations of the aquatic district, and we'd like to thank you for that, Jill.
Very much.
So
Very
we were checking what we needed to change in support of her to enhance her current permissions, and also what duties we might take back that would free up a little bit of time when she liked that idea and had some suggestions. So. Okay, sorry, Eileen.
No, I'm good.
I have questions, if I may, just to clear up this sudden meeting. And I'm not sure what we are, well, in general, what we're undertaking here. We've had the director be away before. We have a natural process. It is Jill that's picking up the slack during this time. Was it seeking out the legal counsel? Was that because, did Jill request help? Jill, did you ask for some help with things that could not be done? Or did we assume we needed to step in?
I do need help with certain things.
Okay.
I know how to do a lot of Laurel's job, but I also don't have permission to transfer money and do some of the budget stuff that I frankly don't have time, because I'm now doing more than one job. I mean, I just need to keep the pool running, pay the bills, keep the lifeguard scheduled, pay the employees,
And-
run
and
the
so-
school basically.
We are talking, I just want to double check, we're talking, if we're doing, the purpose of this meeting, which we'll get to, I'm sure, all together, are we doing it understanding that it's temporary, 3 months, I didn't
4
count the
months.
months, is it
4
4?
months.
Okay,
So to answer your question, we started with potentially a 10-day outage, which is a typical 2-week vacation, no question. You know, that I'm sure pre-planned, no problem, enough money in the bank, no problem. Unfortunately, it was sudden, so I think we're okay for 1 payroll cycle potentially. I think we verified that now. But our payroll is this week because it's the end of the month. So that was the
and we're okay
urgency.
for the cycle, but we've been called to an emergency meeting. Could
We-
have had well, I think, I've heard from a lot of people just the last 24 hours. I've had tons of phone calls because what does it mean, this emergency that the pool, there's a rumor, more than one kind of rumor, the pool is closing.
So
This is alarming that it's an emergency meeting. We could have had a special meeting, at the end of our Monday. Go ahead.
could answer.
I can
So-
speak to that when the opportunity comes up. I'd be happy to speak to that because this meeting was
Please.
called. This meeting was called based on my advice because I was contacted by the chair, and the concern was the executive director is out for an extended period of time, and the question was, what are the board's obligations in the meantime? And a few issues came up that caused me a little bit of concern. One was the cash flow situation for the district currently. The other is that the board's apparent either lack of knowledge or inability to access funds or to administer funds. And there was some confusion about what the board's duties are there. And the other issue is you guys are coming up very soon to the end of your budget cycle. And there were some concerns on my part that your budget process needs to get finished and it isn't. So my advice was sooner rather than later. The board ultimately, for anyone who needs to know, the board of directors is the ultimate power decision-making body with respect to district finances and public money. And if that money is not properly administered or overseen, then it can be personal liability for each member of the board, meaning that you individually can be sued for improper management of public money. I'm not saying that's going on, but my concern and advice, because I advise the board as the governing body of the district, the question is, what are you legally obligated to do with respect to the money? And that conversation evolved into my recommendations are the board should always have access to public money. Always. This is not something the staff is authorized to run off with and not consult the board out. And I'm not saying they've done that, but the situation is the board should always have access to funds. The board should also always be aware of what the financial situation of the district is. And the board is ultimately prevented from spending money at all until you have a properly approved budget. So all of those things were coming together in the sense that everybody understands that Laura Lee manages all this stuff and that's fine. But in her absence, my recommendation was sooner rather than later that the board get its arms around the financial obligations and the financial status of the district and decide amongst you how you want to handle this going forward. And so in light of that, I proposed a resolution and sent that to Kim and to Darla that I would recommend, and it might be helpful as we sort of have this conversation to walk through the resolution and talk about what it does and what it doesn't do.
Could you elaborate a little more, please? Just because I'm not aware, and I'd like to understand as part of this what it looks like for board members to have access to public cash. Is that how it was? Okay.
Well, potentially, yeah. Any public money that is the responsibility of the district. That's the board's job.
That I understand, but are you saying, for instance, access to cash makes me think a board member could go to the bank and access some public cash?
Of course not. That isn't what we're saying. And as we go through, and Kim, it may help as we start to go through the resolution that people can see what we are talking
I
about.
just need help with what the powers are. Okay.
Yes, and that the resolution, I think, will be
Let's dive in.
helpful in that respect. So maybe we could sort of walk through that, and then
Right.
questions that might come up in the meantime.
I will open up your email and read off of the new copy.
And I apologize that there are some minor changes that I made to the final whereas section because there was a slight in retyping it, I misstated the status of the law. It was inadvertent. I apologize. But you have the most current version there.
All right, thank you so much.
So should we have Eileen?
Should I read it or should you read it?
We can do it either way. If you want to do it as the chair, go ahead, or I'm happy to read my own words. What's
You're
that?
actually way louder than me on this
Am
microphone.
I? I'm sorry. Oh, I hope I'm not shouting. Okay, I'm happy to read it. Would you like me to do that?
Yeah.
Okay. First of all, there's a bunch of whereases in here, which are just basically a way of sort of identifying the issues that ultimately the board is going to be deciding on. So bear with me. Hopefully it's all written in English, so it won't be too legalistic for you. The title of the resolution, it doesn't have a number yet, but it will be whatever this is in the order of resolutions of the board. And it's titled A Resolution Authorizing Financial Procedures and Designating Banks and Signatories. And by the way, this is a very standard routine business resolution that all of my clients' boards adopt, something similar to this. So this is not unique to you guys, but there are a few things that I combined here so that you can address all of these things at once. Whereas pursuant to ORS 266.370, I've included in here all of the statutory citations so that you know where this authority is coming from. It's coming from ORS Chapter 266 mostly, which is the Principal Act for Park and Recreation Districts. And there's also some references to ORS 294, which is local budget law. Pursuant to the statute, the Board of Directors of the Lebanon Aquatic District is the governing power of the district and shall exercise all powers of the district. And whereas pursuant to the citation, the board is authorized to direct the payment of all lawful claims or demands. And whereas pursuant to the cite, all district funds are required to be deposited in the discretion of the board in one or more banks designated by the board, and any funds deposited in the bank may be paid out only by warrant or check signed by the secretary and countersigned by the president of the board or by designees named by the board. Whereas the board desires to name or reaffirm one or more financial institutions at which the district's funds will be kept. Whereas the board seeks to authorize certain of its members to be signatories on such accounts. Whereas pursuant to the citation, the district may not expend money or certify to the assessor an ad valorem tax rate or estimated amount of ad valorem taxes to be imposed in any year unless the municipal corporation has complied with Oregon's local budget law requirements with the citation. Whereas pursuant to the local budget law, the district's budget committee has approved a budget document for fiscal year 2025-26 and has referred the budget document to the board as the governing body for final approval. And whereas cite requires the board to publish notice and a financial summary of the budget between 5 and 30 days before holding a meeting to consider the proposed budget. And whereas pursuant to the cite at the meeting called pursuant to the law, the board is required to hold a public hearing on the budget document as approved by the budget committee, where any person may appear for or against any item in the approved budget document. And whereas after the public hearing and consideration of matters discussed at the public hearing, the board must enact the ordinances or resolutions necessary to adopt the budget, make appropriations, and determine and declare the ad valorem property tax amount or rate to be certified to the assessor for the ensuing budget period. And whereas pursuant to the cite, the board may amend the budget estimates and proposed ad valorem property tax amount or rate in the budget document before adoption, except that the amended budget must be republished if the amount of estimated expenditures for each fund is increased by more than $5,000 or 10% of the estimated expenditures, whichever is greater, and if the amount or rate of the total ad valorem property taxes to be certified to the assessor exceeds the amount approved by the Budget Committee. Now, therefore, the district's board of directors, this is the resolution part, hereby resolves as follows. Section 1, the district's funds shall be kept at, and there's a list of the banks where these funds, checking, saving, investments, and anything else will be. Those have to be authorized by the board. Presumably this was done at some point in the future, but it's a good idea to
Now,
to
these
ratify.
we already have those. Oh, sorry.
Okay. The second section is the following individuals shall be authorized to sign checks on behalf of the district. That is, there's a potential there to name who the board would like to be the signatories on the check, and that could be whomever the board decides. 3, the following person or persons are authorized to ensure that necessary procedures are followed to notify banks of any changes in signatories and to ensure compliance with Oregon's local budget law for the fiscal year. And then section 4, the district may change its financial institutions, signatories, and or designation of a budget facilitator by resolution of the board. Is there any
Why
of
is this so urgent? What are we? It seems like we have these things that we have already established who are signatories on the checking account. We know where the banks and institutions where the funds are held.
Are you aware that Lorlee Engler is a signatory on the accounts and she is not available?
I am aware.
Okay.
And so that's where I'm trying to drill down to what are we wanting to accomplish here, needing to accomplish here tonight.
Well, the board can talk about that. I can tell you that what my intentions were in advising the board is I am uncomfortable with the degree of either lack of information or confusion on the part of the board members I've talked to about where the accounts are, who can sign for them, how much money is there. That's ultimately the board's responsibility. So my recommendation was, in Lorlee's absence, and given the fact that she is responsible and she should not be doing any banking while she is on leave. So if the intention was she'll just keep doing what she does while she's on leave, I'm going to strongly advise against that, which means that somebody has to step up and cover these bases. And there should be at least 2 signatories other than Lorlee who can sign checks and oversee the bank accounts. So that was one of the reasons why we wanted to have this meeting sooner rather than later, because you shouldn't be spending any money unless it's properly authorized. And then the fact that your budget cycle is where it is, and there was some conversation with the folks I talked about, is that the budget committee is done. And the information that was apparently being shared with the board was, okay, that's it, the budget is done. And I can tell you that it is not. It has to go to the board of directors as a governing body. And I read to you the procedures that still have to be followed, if I'm understanding where you guys are in the process. And that absolutely needs to be done as soon as possible, or you're going to miss your deadline. So sorry?
Well, I don't think that there's any confusion on that part. We did adopt the budget with the contingency that we subsequently vote in a proposed new position that Lorlee proposed, discussed, and the board at that time wished to have some more discussion, follow-up about that. So the budget was passed based on the board decision as to whether we were going to authorize this extra role or not.
Okay, so is it my understanding that the budget committee referred a budget to the board collectively as a governing body outside of the budget committee reviewed the budget, made whatever changes needed to be made, and properly adopted after holding a public hearing? Was all that done?
Our public hearing is next month, or on May 9th, or June
Okay.
9th. So it's coming up.
Yes.
So we do have a public hearing coming on June 9th.
Okay. So in other words, if you're not concerned at all about the finances, lovely. All this does is basically it's a good housekeeping measure to show that the board is on top of the finances. There will be questions since Laura is absent about who is going to be handling all this stuff. My recommendation is it ultimately falls to the board to know what's going on and to be in charge of the budget and finances. Okay, so that was the recommendation on my part to do this now. And the board should always be aware of and in charge of that process. So if all this has been done and you're not concerned about it, lovely, then ratify whatever you have in your resolution, and you've essentially done your housekeeping that you need to do, and then you sign the resolution and nothing changes.
Thank you, Eileen. Let me just clarify a couple things. So that was why I said this is a housekeeping board business meeting. This was not a dramatic emergency call. The emergency term is due to the special district rules of what you title a meeting that is less than a week's notice, which
Less than 24 hours can be an emergency meeting, 24 hours, or it can be a special meeting. You can do
It's
a
actually,
special meeting.
excuse me, it's actually less than 48 hours. For a special meeting, you have to give at least 48 hours. And if it's less than that, then it qualifies as an emergency meeting.
Okay, then okay, I have outdated material then. But
One of the things that I wanted to accomplish here, Lori, is currently the only account I do not have access to is our money market or savings account, which means that initially I was really worried about it. Then I talked to our accountant, found out we had
how come you were really worried about it?
because I can't give Jill money for the paychecks.
Oh, I see. So this is about money transfers, which I thought we
Correct.
did need to address tonight. Okay.
Right, so I need access to that so I can put it into the account that she has access to, so she can cut checks, so all of our people can get paid. To me,
Yeah.
that's the biggest.
that was the urgency, was payroll. So I think everybody can understand that we want to make sure people got paid. But we still
Well, I felt certain, and where I'm coming from is that we've handled directors being out of touch. We've handled having no directors in between aquatic directors. And things moved along. So I was just not really aware of where at this point, we've everything needed to be, stop and take care of this. And it did, like I say, unnerve a lot of
Which is
people.
really unfortunate because just a few more words on the meeting notice, which was rushed to get it posted, probably would have relieved a lot of concern. And I completely understand your point. But I think everyone should understand that it was a good-hearted effort to try to get Jill the support she needs because she can't transfer the money. And the only signature authority that we ever signed was for the checking account, which won't have enough money.
Right.
And Eileen, did you have a concern that all board members are on the checking account?
Yeah, I
Or were
was.
you okay with that?
That was my understanding is all board members are authorized to sign checks. My recommendation was that be limited so that you have designated folks who can sign. Otherwise, you end up in a situation where 2 people can go and authorize checks to be signed where the other 3 might not be okay with that. I'm not saying that would happen, but in terms of setting up your safeguards for your accounting, you should have, I would recommend no more than 2 of your board members authorized to sign checks at the same time. And you could have a 3rd person who could be a staff person or someone else that you name.
And I think that Darla and Mark are the people who are here the most. Would you agree that they're here almost daily? So I think that Darla and Mark should be the signers on the account. You would be the backup person because you need access to do the money transfers.
So we need 2 people to sign it, and what happens if one or both those people go on vacation?
You would be the 3rd person,
Who's the 3rd?
Jeremy, because he needs access to the bank accounts to transfer money.
And this is more of a
And it-
best practices
Yeah,
advice.
and temporary,
And
and
temporary,
temporary.
but we could also leave it as is, talk about it more. It doesn't have to be an urgent decision.
Correct.
But I do agree that probably most likely Jill's gonna catch Marker eye. I think you're right about that. Lori often comes in too and signs, but I'm used to getting texted and coming in.
I'll be out of my chair.
Oh, right, right.
But I, all the way until the end, I wanna,
Yeah, of course.
see us through.
So how many signatures are given check in?
Two.
Two, right?
Correct.
Are those both supposed to be board members? Is that Lori, is it Jill, is that
I
us?
don't sign checks.
Okay, so in the past, that's been who?
It's been Laura Lee and a board member.
Okay. Okay, so Laura Lee's out, so two board members while we deal
Yes.
with you. I get it.
Yes.
Okay.
Now, I'd like to bring something up. One of the things, and it's already been mentioned in this meeting, that we have yet as a board to decide is approving a new role, an additional administrative position that Laura Lee requested in the budget meeting. And she built it into the budget. So there was just,
I'm so
Yeah.
sorry to stop you. And I know this was in her resolution, but the meeting can only be about the one line item, and this line item is about the housekeeping to get
my
the bank
point
account.
about the extra person is that that person, I envision, would help, would step in and assist at being an administrative full-time role with benefits. That person would be able to alleviate even all the stuff the board is doing, handling transfers. Because operations, the way I see it and the way I read through all the policies, the operation should be the staff, the pool. The oversight and the direction would be the board. If the board starts being involved in operating, especially money, that concerns me. I do see oversight, and we do have a treasurer. And I agree with, that you should have access to see all the banks,
So
all
what you're
the
saying is your
funds.
long-term solution to solve this problem in the future would be to have two executive director, co-executive director, something similar.
No, we already have one executive director. We're talking about an administrative position that Laura Lee spoke about, if you recall, in the last meeting. She brought it up and we talked about it. We decided we'd make a determination at the next board, at our next regular meeting.
We'll talk about it more at the budget meeting on the 9th.
I want it to be understood that I see that person having a role in, during this temporary time that we have to help. I see them in the future, could be before Laura Lee comes back on board. I just want that to be out there. Okay. You can go.
I can go.
Really quick, one technical thing, since this resolution printed had a typo in it, do we need another?
Yes,
printed?
I'm going to forward it to Jill.
Would you send it to LebanonPoolStaff@gmail.com and I can send it to the printer?
Okay.
And Google faster.
And you could CC Jill.
Yes.
When I turn my Wi-Fi back on.
Yeah.
When you get.
And Eileen, thank you for going through all of
It
that.
was Lebanon.
Well, You're welcome. And I had told the board chair earlier, I have to duck out. I have another commitment that I have to get to. So I'm going to exit and let you guys talk about this. I think it's
Thanks for trying, for helping us, Eileen.
I'm happy to do it. And please let me know if there's any follow-up after the meeting that I can help with.
Thank you. Enjoy your evening.
Thanks. Bye, everybody.
Hi. Okay, I forwarded it.
I'll grab it.
Oh, thank you, Jen. All right, So Jeremy, do you know well, I'll wait till, he's gonna have to get it in, but do you know the institutions that these accounts are at? So we can write them
This
in?
is People's Bank, I don't know, and I don't know.
People
Yeah,
pay
it's
attention
information.
to-
I just know, I know this, the
and
checking is
savings
People's
are
Bank.
People's, and then
And
we,
No.
is savings,
money
no,
market.
savings is. like-
Savings is the LGIP local
Okay, so that's not,
investment.
that's not
Okay.
through People's Bank, right?
Mhm.
Or is it?
No, we've
That's
got
state.
checking and savings and pool, swim club check.
Swim club, yeah.
But this
Other
is
would
not
be swim
breaking
club.
up.
other would
We
be
just
so.
say checking.
Okay.
We just have two
It
checking
don't-
accounts.
I can
It's
transfer,
still
okay.
Yeah.
So I know this is.
We've only got two entities,
Okay. People's and the government.
right?
LGFP.
Which I don't know if we want to spell out the LGIP or the acronym's fine.
That's the
Spell it out.
LGI.
Do we know what?
Would be the
Yes, local
savings.
government investment.
I
pool.
think there's a savings at People's also, right?
Yeah.
So after checking right here. right
So
here,
the
and
first three
savings.
lines are,
Right.
Is there savings?
There's a money market people,
Oh.
which I would put that under savings.
Oh, okay. Oh,
And so we'll just,
whoops.
that's okay. You can put the LGIP on that row and put savings on this one and it'll be okay. All right. And then, so the way this is written, it has the decisions for signers and things in here currently.
You can
But
go
you
ahead and
would-
put a C for Jeremy's to put the third signature. That's acceptable as long as you put it here before you sign.
No, I'm just talking. Darla said we didn't need to make these decisions right now, so I'm
I'm
doing
comfortable with the three signatures, but I want to
With
make
Mark.
sure
you and Jeremy.
you're,
Okay,
if Lori's okay, then I would say, let's go with Eileen's
We
recommendation.
used to
Okay.
have just.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, we
then
do. It's not
the,
really,
the second part allows someone to talk to the bank.
thank you.
So I would like to suggest that it is Jeremy as the treasurer and Darla because she is going to be the
Okay.
upcoming chair. So that way we won't have to make other
Won't have to
changes
change it
right away.
again in a
right.
month, yeah.
Yep. So. People's Bank. Do we have investments? That's probably the
The
LGIP,
LGIP.
right?
Not sure.
And the person that would handle transferring would be at the direction of
Tina.
Tina.
So how it works today, Tina makes a recommendation based on upcoming, this is what we had to discover, right? So this was me not knowing, but Tina makes a recommendation, the transfer is made, and then there's sufficient funds to meet payroll.
Yeah.
That was the only urgency. It turned out, after Tina looked, I think that we could have possibly made one more payroll.
Yes, when I talked to her, she said we might have to, but that was
Might have
before.
to transfer,
I
yeah.
think that was before she did.
But that could be because other payments, you just said there's some
Yeah.
payments coming out. We may not have
There's,
counted those coming out already.
but she's already got those checks, so she would have accounted those.
You know, because we asked a couple days ago or yesterday, or yes, only yesterday. My gosh.
Were we in a situation of some financial pinch if we had sent out done our payroll Monday and this
Well,
payroll
Tuesday-
needed transfer right then?
Wednesday morning, I picked up the checks and Tina said to me, so it would have been Wednesday morning. She told me that we might not have enough in checking
Okay.
account to cover payroll. And then that was the last time I talked to Tina. And it was yesterday, Thursday.
Yeah.
Okay, and then Thursday, I don't know when you guys talked to her.
Oh, that's
So she may have looked at things.
But it was based on the Wednesday comment that we said.
That's
it
what
needed
I,
to just
that's what I,
straighten it
Yeah,
out.
but that's
I
the
was
way
under the impression that.
Was that yesterday? I don't even know what day.
It was Wednesday.
It was Wednesday.
It was
right?
after Tina made that.
Okay, I thought so. Okay.
Because we were checking
I
with
believe we got
Jill.
about 50,000 checking right now, so after the fact, I think we probably would have been okay for one more cycle.
We probably would.
Probably would have been.
But she also replied to you and said that you can't read it like that.
That's true. She did mention that I can't just look at the balance because there's a bunch of stuff that's pending to come out.
Mhm.
I'm like, well, it is a good point.
Yeah, and you have to watch the loan payment about what day it's effective versus what day it's sent.
Because all I can see is the actual balance. I don't have QuickBooks, so I can't see.
So question, aside from somebody being able to do this transfer, and making the changes to the signatory, what else, are we looking at to, assist Jill with?
We are going to take over all of the clerk role for the board duties that Laura Lee was doing. So I will be making the agendas, sending out the emails, just a reminder, don't reply to all. Sending out the minutes for the board packets, those kinds of things.
And I'll help you if
Yeah.
needed.
You're gonna help with that. And then what else? Do you remember anything else we talked about? Just mostly the board
Yeah,
stuff
it's
to
the
make
board
sure
stuff.
that she doesn't have to do that on top of.
You're
I
though
mean, we'll
doing
still
public
post it on the
Yes.
notice,
Yep.
website, et
Yes.
cetera.
It's just to help her so she doesn't
Yeah.
have one more deadline.
I will include her when I send out things and then she'll post them as needed, so that will be taken care of.
Okay, now, just, because I sort of lost track, our meeting in which we're going to discuss the, proposed new role, is that the 20th or what?
So
what date are we
we're having a public budget hearing on June 9th, where the public can make comments, give us any feedback they have about the budget that the budget committee approved. And we can talk about that. I
If it
think
comes
we're gonna
up.
make a final, I think at the board meeting on the 16th is when we will do a final conversation before the final approval and
Because when we
adoption.
would talk to each other about it,
Yes.
whereas we're listing, if anyone wants to talk about it, we're happy to hear it.
Okay,
So Darla and I will also, I guess, tag team, for lack of a better word, starting on the 16th meeting, of opening the senior center and making sure that we have, that covered. So that
Oh,
Jill doesn't
thank
have to
you.
be
Yeah, I
there.
better remember that. Yeah,
Because starting on the 16th, we'll be meeting at the senior center.
yes.
Well, and Rose is. or
And Rose
Becky
is gonna,
first,
yep,
So.
yep, she'll be coming to, this works much better in the smaller space. So I think when we shrink the tables down in the room, I think it'll be much better.
It's much better.
Yeah, it looks much nicer.
Yes, I'll try and coordinate with you.
so
Jill.
there will be, oh, I'm sorry.
I do have a spare laptop. If for some reason can't bring this one to a meeting, I've got a backup to help us out. So just be aware of that.
Yeah, we're trying to make Jill do as little carrying and lifting and bringing, right? So maybe it'll be easier to switch over. to-
Yeah,
So
that's a good
question,
point. I can just, for the next few months, I'll just bring my own laptop, so you don't have to worry about extra junk.
I have a question about, when we allow public comment. That will certainly be at the meeting.
public
Absolutely.
At the public meeting. But then also at that, 16th meeting.
At the board meeting, yes.
Yeah.
Just like normal.
Very good.
And the only reason for no public comment tonight, although we're happy to hear your statement, is simply because it was just housekeeping. You know, it's just freshening everything up, making sure Jill has what she needs. So I'd like to make a motion that we pass this resolution, which I think is filled out now,
It's filled out now.
if everyone agrees. Jeremy,
Under number 3, you are listing person or persons to ensure the procedures are followed. These are,
So Darla and Jeremy will be able to take the minutes to the bank and do the things that.
So when,
Do you mind
so,
if I make the motion so I can try and
Yeah.
read off the resolution, because I'm trying to type into the minutes?
I can give you a copy, you can just cut and paste.
I know, but I would rather,
he's better at
Okay.
it than
I
I
would
am.
rather everything be as above board as possible here, so if I can,
Absolutely, we can hear it again.
Can I
I'm not gonna read the whole thing.
Oh.
Can I just answer Lori's or finish Lori's?
I was reading.
Also, when we're adding Julie, so that would probably be the next action, because Julie will be added, you'll be removed before Laura Lee gets.
added where to this.
The number 3, you were asking what that purpose of that would be. That would be go to the bank and say, Julie
Well, you
Miller,
guys are-
thank you, is joining the board, right?
Right, no, because
After we have
you're gonna take us off.
Exactly.
So you and Jeremy.
Oh, that's true.
And,
That'll be
and
the
Mark will
next
be the,
action.
yes, that'll be the
Got it.
next action. And then should Mark say, I don't want to do this anymore, or
Right.
me, or any of you
Any of
guys,
us,
we,
right.
you guys both have the ability to
I say
make
I
the
don't wanna do this
update.
anymore.
No,
So again,
Except for you, you don't get the phone.
again, number 3, that is Jeremy and is it?
And me, because I'll be the chair.
Hopefully I don't get called down, but fortunately I live a couple blocks away, so in a pinch.
But that's the kind of cleanup that number 3 is referring to.
Are we gonna write down a resolution number for this?
do you know what the resolution number was?
It goes by how many you've done this month.
And we
Have you
did,
done-
yes, we did one resolution for the site change at
So it
the,
would be 2025
okay,
5 for May, and then the number of resolution in
so
order.
202552.
2.
Okay, so the plan is,
So,
I didn't get the 5.
Yes, dash 5.
no,
that's
5 for
Jeremy.
May, and then 2, because it's our
Oh,
second
5-2.
resolution.
Okay, I thought you said 552.
No.
Jeremy, it's 2025-5-2.
Thank you very much.
okay, so 3 people, are all of these already signers?
Yes, so you're gonna be removing Lori and myself.
Okay,
I think that's
so
the
these 3
only
people will
overall.
be the only signers, everybody else gets removed. We're clarifying. And then we're adding Darla and myself just as authorization.
What this does is it lets you take the minutes along with that document and go talk to the bank.
Okay. So I make a motion that we pass resolution 2025-5-2, which clarifies the institutions we currently have our funds at, People's Bank, LGIP, and authorizes exclusively Jeremy Gunther, Darla Bloomer, and Mark McAllister to be check signers, and authorizes exclusively Darla Bloomer and Jeremy Gunther as people who can talk to the bank to make changes.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, Charles, second. All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All
Aye.
Laura is an aye. Mark is an absent.
I got the freaking thing out.
All right, you keep typing. Give me back the thing. I have to sign it.
Oh, I have to sign it?
No, I do.
Okay.
Oh, maybe you and I
you do
both
too.
do.
Oh,
But you're
secretary.
Yeah, yeah, you and I both have to sign it. All right, there you go. I had an early version of it typed up, so it doesn't look so bad.
Now, Jill, do I need a copy or the original when I take it to the bank to have them do
A
their stuff?
copy.
Okay, so
So-
you just make me a copy.
So they can get a copy. All right. All right, I think that will, oh, nope, we're gonna let Karen read her thing into the record. Jeremy, get ready.
Well, I'll give you a call, this, you don't have to.
I would appreciate that.
And, just to preface what this is all about is that there was lots of stuff going on on the side about what was gonna happen tonight. And I'm always I learned a long time ago, more information is better than not enough information, because in the absence of information, people create their own information. And that's part of the reason why there are a lot of people here tonight. So, including me, the most important one.
Yes.
Just saying. Okay, so this is a memo, and I brought 10 copies, so you can,
Yes.
and hopefully there aren't any typos.
Yes, do you mind if I'll get it after you're done.
Well, here, you want one? You can follow along. Does anybody else? want
Oh,
one?
yes, that would be fun. I mean, right.
Well, oh, yeah, no, a lot of fun, a lot of fun. And if you want one too?
Yeah, please.
Okay.
Pass it.
That's-
Okay.
I need at least one.
Thank you so
Oh,
much.
so we just can't see it.
Here we go.
That's actually not a bad
Are
idea.
you ready? Oh, you want one too. Julie wants one too.
Yes, could we
Behind
have
you.
that to do?
Yes.
Thanks.
And this
Thank
is
you.
this is a Word document.
Yeah, I came right in the face, so. So they can pause that in the video if they want to read it.
Right.
It's a Word document in my computer, so if anybody wanted me to email something to them, I can do that. Okay,
Okay,
in the spirit of cooperation. Okay.
thank you.
The subject, public meeting compliance per Oregon state law. I'd like the following read into the record of Lebanon Pool Board meeting of May 30, 2025 at 5 p.m. location Lebanon Community Pool Meeting Room. Within the last 24 hours, I've been informed the meeting being held this time may not conform with standard guidelines and laws of the state of Oregon pertaining to the conducting of a public meeting. Here are some concerns. One, the meeting was convened as an emergency meeting, which may not conform to the criteria required for an emergency meeting. A, not proper legal notice, including the purpose of the meeting. B, all board members not notified in a timely manner. D, or C, reason or rationale for conducting an emergency meeting. D, lack of opportunity for the full board and director to participate. E, declaration that there will not be any public comments allowed, either written or oral. F, if the meeting is regarding the budget process, not allowing budget committee members to participate. G, possible goal to reverse recommendations and endorsement vote by the board and budget committee members. H, manipulation of the standard quorum expectation by inviting only enough board members to vote to reverse a previous recommendation, budget or personnel decision. 2, actions that may be taken due to the questionable actions of limited board members. A, issuance of complaints to the state of Oregon regarding improper public and emergency meeting actions. B, consultation with legal counsel and possible reporting of improper conduct. And C, possible impeachment or officer removal due to unethical conduct. Please, and respectfully submitted, Karen Berger, and this evening. And please note that this is in the spirit of trying to encourage full documentation, announcements, information.
And you also,
So now that you've, excuse me, Kim, now that you've attended, you've heard the reason, you know that it was posted, you know that all board members were notified.
Well, I don't know that.
Would you like to go through this and
Um,
talk to you about it?
No, I don't want to belabor it with, with the group. That's not fair to you guys. If you want to respond to me, email, my email address is there, and we can have a dialogue. Any information that you provide to me would be extremely helpful. This has been a very confusing process. And I also heard in the meeting that one of the issues that was, maybe a lack of thoroughness because of the speed with what this was put together, that there wasn't a properly worded or properly explained what kind of meeting this was and what it was for. So I wouldn't be here if I thought I knew all that information, and I wouldn't have stated that if I thought I'd had enough information.
That was an issue that I heard from many.
Yeah, and I apologize for that, but beyond apologizing for a clumsy announcement, and do it better next time. I appreciate.
Well, and that's why I felt it was
Corrective
better to just put this down in writing what my concerns were. We can address it personally, however you want to do that, but I don't want to belabor it. We could go on all night, or just, I don't think anybody wants that.
Jeremy, I would like to add to the public record or the minutes that the lawyer confirmed that none of these things happened and that we were in complete compliance with this meeting.
The lawyer read that.
No, she covered all of these concerns in the beginning when you were asking her, and she explained that she was the person. She explained that an emergency meeting is in 48 hours. She explained everything that was in here and said that we followed the proper procedure to have this meeting.
Other than she's talked about a special meeting might have been a better choice, which would have been a
No.
48-hour.
Yeah, but we didn't have 48 hours from when we talked to her.
Yeah,
So
I just, after seeing what was going on, I don't know why there couldn't have been a 48-hour notice for a special meeting, which would have taken a lot of this off the table. because
I have
when you have an
to agree.
emergency meeting, that puts it at a whole different level.
This could have been tacked on to after the budget hearing Monday. It could have been, it would have not incited so much fear. There have been negative comments running through the public. The pool is gonna close, the director's being fired. These are things that people have heard and called into me. And I'm alarmed, and it's not the first time in the last 2 years that this has happened. Here we are working so hard to raise the money to refurbish our pool. Everybody's giving everything. And then when you hear that there's negative pushback, rumors that you can't get to the bottom of it.
And if I
So-
can add to that, when you have poor public relations or poor PR, people create their own information. And there's been a lot of contentious conversations about this in the public.
Yeah.
That's why I decided I need to put this down in writing and explain what my concerns were and start addressing this because this is not good. And I don't have this kind of energy to deal with this any more than you guys do.
I'm gonna make that.
So that's.
Thank you for doing all the effort and bringing it to our attention.
Oh, okay. No, she's gonna go make the copies.
I
for
wanna know
Jeremy.
if it's okay if I go make a
Yeah,
copy.
she's gonna go make the
Is
copy,
it okay if I fix his spelling?
please. Oh, you know, he keeps that a secret.
There. How's that?
A secret?
Is that okay?
As long as it works.
Wasn't me.
Does anybody else need to going once? Going?
Okay.
I did. Thank you.
With that, I make a motion to adjourn our meeting. I wish you would. Yes. Sorry. The
Wait.
lawyer was billing us for tonight's.
We can answer. The lawyer's fees are in the budget. We have a budgeted amount for her and we are way under budgeted amount, so.
We have used her a lot.
Contacted the lawyer, because it sounds.
I
like
did.
you used to-
I'm the chair of the board, so I contacted.
I would just want.
You're fine, absolutely,
Okay, thank you.
absolutely.
Did you discuss with anybody before you called the lawyer? I was curious, because I hadn't heard anything.
Let's finish our, yes, there's a motion on the floor. Second.
Second the motion.
And I was-
All right, all in favor? Aye. All in
Aye.
favor? Missing the meeting, all right.
Yes, I was part of
Darla and
the.
I talked about it, and then we also had a conversation, we talked as well. So. we
Oh, that's
wanted to
right, I
make
heard.
sure- Yeah, we wanted to make sure that we had.
Well, I was hearing from people before I knew there was a meeting and.
It wasn't. So I'm not sure what I see. I was surprised.
I'm surprised by all of what has been talked about. Where did that?
I was told that sorry, what? I was told that people were being recruited to come to the meeting, which I find sad and disheartening.
Why is it sad and disheartening? Yeah, why?
Recruited?
Recruited, you mean like they're asked to come?
Because of the immediate.
Or maybe they were told about the concern.
I thought it was all three of them.
That's what I heard again. I don't want to shortchange our public. I'm not gonna do.
Oh, that's
Darla, I'm gonna give you that.
I'm just.
The way I deal with the. Be very careful.
Yeah,
So I'll have Jeremy send them to me to prove those.
And I'll have one.
Just for the values. I need to give you time.
Well,
And
I'm not trying to be feral. I'm not saying that this is all 100%, but
I'll make them wait to go to the bank. So I can at least get one signing in.
You want?
I said you guys can wait to take me off so I can at least sign one.
about
We'll need one to sign.
Why would I care if you get to sign your document?
Still first one at once.
Well, that's the issue.
But we do.
Yeah.
Right, no, she,
Yes, very clear to you. You guys have to.
Yes.
She didn't.
Oh, trust me, it took me a long time to figure that out.
the name, me, thought, me and her.
It took me a long time.
Good thing to say for a lot of people who are really, really because
We could do
they
this.
say that you're.
This month. Before.
We were both very frustrated with the process. So I tried very hard this year to make sure we didn't interrupt.
I did too.
And I thought it was
improved. Much
So
improved,
the ninth.
And much appreciated.
right, but I still don't feel
Thursday.
that it was a proper.
I need to talk to Lori and Mark.
Oh, she's.
One meeting to
She is.
Oh, you did.
She started they were there more that we were just trying to find ways.
So one of the things that.
Well, yeah, because
Well,
Are all the early planning,
we've got
and that
our
next.
zoning and the whole and got a CPO.
right.
Because it.
That we should have been on that same page for.
It's not next week.
Right. So we have the ninth meeting and then we have,
It's 3 weeks.
And so the meetings will be over for a while because we have a long period before the next.
An explanation.
Right.
None of
So we
that.
should do it on the, in the month, so station, first.
And the only answer I ever give, and that's how we've always done.
Oh, I love Wyatt, Wyatt's a great guy.
So you-
That's what I've seen.
So
I understood what you said, but. it
Email
did
Mark.
not
Well, and that's why.
said something about Corona virus.
When I felt like I
Was
should.
that bad phrasing?
The Vegas Corona was
Yeah.
Darla
But
commented
I just.
later on it,
Like,
and hers kind of.
I
Was able to, you know. Start looking into things, start looking into it.
She does. I was.
Sure, I said, I will go and if something, I will tell you, but it's just.
There's like $1 paying for stuff in my-
Yeah, I think the word,
I can see that, that's definitely pretty word.
All right.
That's not a word that I would have targeted, but I can see why.
I knew what you meant, because I know you. But,
Yeah, it takes a little bit to get to know me before.
well, I don't know you that well, but I feel like I know you well enough to see what you were looking at. Yeah. But that,
You know what the banks open on?
that I can tell you.
Saturday, and then it's never open on weekends, are they?
Well, I mean, I make a cheese there. But noon or something.
They might have to-
Hard to look at it.
Yeah, if it's put in silence.
Just Google it, it tells you their hours.
Yeah, good point.
This is.
Tim?